Starboard oars. Water. Starboard oars. Ready.
Army! I trust we'll be victorious this day. The sign and countersign will be victory or death.
In 1913, the government held a 50th anniversary reunion at Gettysburg. It lasted 3 days. Thousands of survivors bivouacked on the old battlefield, swapping stories, looking up old comrades. The climax was to be a reenactment of Pickett's charge. As the rebel yell rang out and the old Confederates started forward again across the fields, a moan, a gigantic gasp of unbelief, rose from the Union men on Cemetery Ridge. It was then, one onlooker said, that the Yankees, unable to restrain themselves longer, burst from behind the stone wall and flung themselves upon their former enemies. Not in mortal combat, but embracing them in brotherly love and affection.
William Faulkner said once that history is not was, it's is. And what we need to remember about the Civil War is that the Civil War is in the present as well as in the past. The generation that fought the war, the generation that argued over the definition of the war, the generation that had to pay the price in blood, that had to pay the price in blasted hopes and a lost future, also established a standard that will not mean anything until we have finished the work.
We're camping tonight on the old campground. Give us a
Gettysburg's guns are still, and the dead sleep on. America's most famous battleground is a camp again, with a road dividing the blue and gray. There is no other dividing line now, as 2,500 veterans gather from north and south to mark the 75th anniversary of America's Armageddon.
Hello! All right.
William J. Lake.
So what was it like then when you got to the front? What did it look like?
Well, I'll tell you, just bullets zipping around all the time.
Huh.
You just never knew when you was going to get hit, but I was lucky, as I said. Another guy, I was sitting out of the bank, and the sniper shot him instead of me.
You were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
This is
Those are more than 2 feet apart. They picked him instead of me. He killed him, of course.
You were just sitting out on a bank somewhere? A river bank?
Yeah, no, inland. It's inland.
Oh, like near a trench?
Yeah.
Huh.
And they got him. They found him. They found the sniper and go.
Oh, they killed him?
And, oh yeah, they didn't take him prisoner. Not the sniper, no.
What were
He
you?
was up in the tree when they found him. And the other man, he fell out of the tree dead. That's all it was. So.
They shot him in the tree.
Yeah.
Were you talking to the fellow when he was shot?
Oh yeah, this other guy that was sitting there talking.
Huh.
Yeah.
You and he were.
Picked him instead of me, and I was lucky. That's all.
Were you? Was this at night or in the daytime?
Daytime.
Daytime. You're just sitting there talking to him 2 feet away, and a sniper shot him.
I sat beside him, and he picked him instead of me.
What? Did you get down as soon as you heard the shot?
I moved right now because they didn't take a sniper prisoner.
No.
No.
They killed him.
Okay.
They were very hard feeling
Well,
about that.
So they were dirty. They'd shoot you in the back as soon as they would in the face, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't care long as they got you.
Bill served as an Army Ranger.
This is the whole company.
Boarded a boat June 6, 1944. Crossed the English Channel, then stormed Omaha Beach at Normandy.
It's amazing what we did.
They invaded France and pushed the powerful German army out.
I said, was you scared? He says, was I scared? He says, if anybody tells you that he wasn't scared, he wasn't here. Then the invasion started.
Monday, as he told an audience in Sun City Center what happened on D-Day,
That's me.
then showed me pictures from the war later at his house, it became clear
These are a list of people that got passed away, killed.
he probably does repress images of death and gore from that historic day that he'd much rather forget.
I don't talk too much about it. And when anybody asks me, what did you do to the war? I said, I did what they told me to do.
You got to know the thing about Afghanistan is that they've lived there and fought there for thousands of years. They know where to step, they know where to run, they know where to plant their water, plant their ammo, their guns, everything. And they pushed us into a bottleneck, you know, or an hourglass, whatever you want to call it. And we fought hard. My friend Danny was shot immediately. He had the radio, and I was just like, hey, did you get that radio call off? And he was like, man, they blew my thumb off. And he held his hand up and was hanging down by a piece of skin. And he's like, can you help me? I'm like, I was the medic. I'm like, can't help you. Can you fight? And he's like, I'll fight. So he jammed a mag in, and we kept going. Only thing was, the only place we could go was 40 feet off the side of this boulder. So we fell off that thing, and they came over the top of us and started spraying AK-47s on top of us, hit Danny 2 more times. We moved around and finally spread out on the mountain where we could start fighting somewhat. And it was like hell had come down on top of us. I mean, 4 against 200 is not very good odds. But we did damage. I mean, we fought and fought and fought, but we kept getting shot. I think by the time Danny, I was holding him up, moving around. I'd picked him up and was kind of moving around. He couldn't walk anymore. His legs had been annihilated. And I was like, I got you, man. And I was fixing to jump off this boulder, about 15 feet, and he took a round through the air and blew the back of his head off, and hit me in the back of the neck, dropped me down. I broke my nose and bit my tongue in half. And that was the worst part of being shot, because I couldn't breathe through my nose, and I kept swallowing my tongue. And I spent most of the time trying to pull that out, plus all the dirt and everything, the grass and stuff of that, swallowed. Fought our way down, and about an hour, 2 hours had went by, and this was a constant fight. They had unloaded on us with RPGs and mortars, and plus the small arms fire, and there was nowhere we could go. We couldn't push up the sides of the mountain because they had consolidated, and by this time they had come underneath us, so they had us in a 360-degree pin. There was nowhere we could go. So Danny, we had lost Danny, and Mikey had pushed out, just like the gentleman said, to the middle and called back for reinforcements. And when he went back, he pushed back to the left in front of me, and I normally don't talk about this, but there's a certain tone that a man doesn't, when a man screams, that you should never hear. Like a fear. He started screaming my name. He was like, "Help, Marcus." Kept calling for help, but I couldn't get back up there. Once you fall off one of those boulders, I couldn't climb back up it. I was the only one left, really. And he just kept yelling for me, and I was getting to the point where I was trying to pin my ears. I was like, just quit screaming my name, stop. He was my best friend. He was the officer in charge, I was the team leader, and he was just like, just kept yelling my name, And finally I got quiet, and they killed him. I think he had been shot, 17 times, 18 times. And I turned around, and I see Matt, and he actually had sat down beside me, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why don't you keep moving?" He's like, "They shot me, bro. They blew the front of my head off." And I turned around and looked at him, and sure enough, he had taken a round through the front of his head and blown his skull off, and I was just like, he's like, "I can't see, I'm blind." And I was like, "Just start walking down the mountain, I'll catch up with you." So he did. We pushed down. I caught up with him, and we were sitting underneath this rock embankment. An RPG had come in and hit both of us and blew us out from underneath that embankment. And by the time I came to, I was upside down, paralyzed from the waist down, and I didn't know where Matt was. So I started crawling, and a lot of stuff happened to me through that night. I had broken my back, my pelvis, tore my rotator cuff, gunshot wounds in my back, across the back of my neck, and 11 through-and-throughs in my knees and my shins, plus all the frag and stuff. And I crawled all night long. I actually fell off the mountain one time. And I kept thinking in my head, you just keep going. That's my job. That's what y'all pay me for, and this is what my guys would want. This is what being a SEAL is all about. And finally, sun had come up. I was working around, and they had been following me all night, the Taliban, and they shot me again. And I fell 1,500 feet, and I was blacking out and whatever. I started crawling up the mountain again, and just kept going. We got into that gunfight exchange, and I won that. Obviously, here I am. It's going to take more than that to bring this boy down.